I had a client come to me after working with another advisor who was using the 4% rule for everything. The problem was there was no plan for the new car they wanted, no plan for extra travel while they were healthy and able to enjoy it, and no tax strategy. They had the money, they just didn't have a plan for how to use that money to live their life to the fullest. So if you're approaching retirement with $2 to $10 million in assets, I want to walk you through 3 common mistakes I see people make with their retirement withdrawals. Mistakes that can keep you from fully enjoying the retirement that you've earned. I'm Scott McDowell with Cap South Wealth Management, and if any of these mistakes resonate with you, clarity is just a conversation away. You can book an intro call with me using the link below. So let me walk you through these 3 mistakes, starting with the one I see most commonly. Mistake number 1, the 4% rule. You might have heard of this one. The strategy is that you could withdraw 4% of your portfolio each year, increasing each year with inflation, and theoretically not run out of money for maybe 30 years. It sounds simple. Maybe too simple. Questions. How are you calculating that? Is that before or after tax? Where are the funds coming from? If coming from an IRA, those funds are likely taxable to you at ordinary income tax rates, as if you earned those funds this year. How are the accounts invested? How are you selecting which account to withdraw from? How do those withdrawals affect your overall allocation? If you're pulling from a taxable investment account, are you factoring in capital gains? If you bought that Apple stock for $5,000 and it's now worth $10,000 and you sell it, you may owe capital gains tax on that $5,000 growth. What about big purchases like cars? How do those factor into your routine 4%? Are you going to feel like you have to finance that vehicle even if rates are not desirable at the time? What about years of higher travel expenses while you're young and healthy? I often talk to clients about go-go years, slow-go years, and no-go years. Now, my spouse and I, we took an aunt and uncle on a trip to Germany a couple years ago, and our 80-year-old aunt walked 10,000 steps through a castle. She did that. But most of us, we're going to slow down on travel expenses over time. What about long-term care expenses? What are your plans for those? Again, I had a client come from a previous advisor that had just quoted the 4% rule and used tax-deferred account withdrawals for everything, even though they had a brokerage account. They kept it simple, real simple. There was no plan for any of the items I mentioned, no factoring in of big purchases, no factoring in tax strategies or Roth conversions or other sources of income. Through planning, we were able to evaluate and process Roth conversions, and now that particular client currently has over $130,000 in gains in Roth IRAs that are tax-free, and will continue to grow tax-free, whereas that growth would have otherwise been in an IRA and subject to income tax when withdrawn. Remember, the IRAs do not get a step up in basis at your death. Your heirs will generally have to deplete those inherited IRAs within 10 years following your death, and they'll have to pay tax on those funds in addition to their regular income at whatever tax brackets and tax rates apply to them at that time. Now, this was just one example. We've got clients with substantially more money in tax-free growth in Roths that have worked with us longer or might have started with a larger balance in their IRAs for those conversions. Every situation is different, but just trying to show the value here. Mistake number 2. You might think, I'll spend less in retirement. Will you though? You'll have more free time in retirement. What do you do with that time? Will you travel more? I know I probably will. Will you play golf? I probably will not. Will you have more horses? That I'll probably do. You might think, but Scott, my children are going to be out of the house. I'm going to spend so much less money. Well, maybe that could be true, but what about those sweet grandchildren? What about family vacations? I've had clients take all of their children and all of their grandchildren to South Africa on safari, to all-inclusives in Mexico, or on cruises. Those clients are creating and leaving their family legacy of memories, not just dollars. I had a client years ago tell me that he had steak dinners with his entire family every Monday night, and he paid for it. And he joked that they thought he was being generous, but they didn't realize he was spending their inheritance and he was getting to enjoy it and have his family around the table. Now, I remembered this story because it resonated with me. That was my life growing up. My grandfather wanted nothing more than to have his whole family around the table. What if you decide in retirement that you want to purchase a second home? I have a client right now considering wintering in Florida for up to 6 months a year. How does that factor in? Mistake number 3, a one-size-fits-all spending order. Some say just pull from the taxable accounts first and have lower tax rates. Some say pull from the tax-deferred accounts first and reduce future RMDs. The answer? Could be either, could be neither, could be a combination of both. It depends. Remember, saving taxes in the current year is not always best. And that could be another mistake or myth of its own. You should review your expected tax picture over your lifetime and then factor in how this year compares to that. And we want to make sure that we're factoring in those plans for periodic purchases like those cars. Sometimes you have a client, true story here, that only has tax deferred accounts and that you don't have the option of pulling from other accounts. There's no taxable accounts, there's no Roth IRAs. However, you can control timing. I had a client a few years ago that wanted to buy a new camper, a new truck to pull it with, and to build a barn to park it all under. I ran the numbers, and they agreed to finance the truck, for just a few months to get the truck purchase into the next tax year. And then they paid off the note. They didn't want to have any debt, but we agreed to hold just that amount temporarily. I currently have a client that has, again, just purchased a truck, and we're doing a very similar thing, right? So they bought it, first payment's due in November. They're going to go ahead and pay half of the truck off this year, and then they're going to pay the other half off in January to split that into 2 tax years. And they were able to get a rebate for financing the vehicle with no prepayment penalty. So that was a bonus for them. By considering all of these factors, we can create a nimble plan that evolves each year based on the expected dynamics of that year. Maybe it's a lower income year and we want to pull distributions from taxable accounts to create more room for Roth conversions. Maybe there was a larger purchase this year and we've got a lot of capital gains, and so maybe we want to skip Roth conversions this year and manage our tax bracket that way. Withdrawal strategies should be client and situation specific, and they should be planned in advance when possible. You have the most control when planning ahead for the next year. But many times you can make adjustments throughout the year or during that fall tax planning season. So these are the 3 mistakes: relying only on the 4% rule, assuming you'll spend less in retirement, and following a rigid withdrawal order without considering your tax picture. Here's what I want you to take away from this. Withdrawal strategies are not one size fits all, and they shouldn't be set it and forget it. And the goal isn't just for you to not run out of money. It's for you to live the life that you've worked so hard for. Making good decisions about how you plan and manage your withdrawals may actually allow you to withdraw more and to enjoy more than you ever thought possible. If you want help creating a withdrawal strategy tailored to your specific situation, there's a link below to schedule a call. And if you found this helpful, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe. I share retirement planning insights like this regularly.